April, United States Council, please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome, everyone. And if you could, roll call, please.
Mayor Kangas.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Karki. Councilmember Becker.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Hello.
Councilmember Ilman.
Present.
Councilmember Flowey.
Here. Okay, number 4, approval of agenda. Please make a motion.
Bring motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Mr. Ilman, and let's go.
Whatever.
Okay, let's go with Matt for a second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Number 5, public comment. So 3 minutes. So any member from the public, will step up to the podium and identify yourself, and you got 3 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Jacob Mayer, I'm with Iron Range Hockey, and I just wanted to stop and say that we support the purchase of new ice rink compressors for the one that failed this year, and also for the spare compressor. It's served us a long time, since 1988. We've unfortunately lost 2 months of ice time this last year, skating due to the failed compressor, and we'd like to ensure that we can skate a full year this year. My son was fortunate enough to make it to States this year. Unfortunately, we lost the last month of ice time there, where they could move on and spend more time with their team and working on going on to further competitions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Beckman. I'm with Iron Range Hockey as well. I'm also here to reiterate the points that Jake said. Our organization has seen some significant growth over the last 4 or 5 years, approximately 15% year over year, and we have some real good traction, momentum, and we'd hate to lose that momentum, because there is other places that our kids can go play, and we want to keep them here and offer this. If we didn't have the ice and we had more issues, it doesn't take much reasoning to think it's logical to go somewhere else. So we really hope we can make this adjustment and get us playing in October. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Going once, going twice. Closing public comment. Okay, number 6, unfinished business. Do we have any? So let's get to number 7, 7.1, ballot language, rezoning of Old Town 5 acres. Anna, would you please?
At the March regular meeting, the council voted to submit the petition regarding the rezoning of a 5-acre parcel of land in Old Town and place it on the ballot. The city clerk and city attorney have drafted language to be placed on the ballot of the August 6, 2024 election below. The Negaunee City Council voted to amend the City of Negaunee codified zoning ordinance number 156.031 to rezone an approximate 5-acre parcel of city-owned property, which is part of Old Town, from a public area zoning district to a residential zoning district. Should the amendment to the zoning ordinance be repealed, reverting the subject parcel back to a public area zoning district. Recommendation: approve the language to be placed on the ballot of the August 6th, 2024 election.
Good motion.
Make a motion to approve the language.
Need a second? Kevin? Okay, any comment, Tony? Okay, Kevin? Okay, anybody else? Okay, so with that, okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Aye.
Okay,
You had one,
You saying nay?
Here's a-
I said it's an A for me.
It's a nay. Okay.
Now do a roll call.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Nay.
Councilmember Ilmenin,
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
now we got 7.2, ordinance amendments number 156.046, 156.047, 156.201. First reading, accessory dwelling units in all residential zones. And if you would please.
The proposed ordinance amendments would allow accessory dwelling units in all residential zones. Currently, the city allows them in the R1 zone. These changes would allow them in all residential. This proposed amendment will also include requiring 1 parking spot per ADU in all zones. Recommendation, approve the first reading and set a public hearing for the May 9th regular meeting.
Make a motion?
Make the motion to approve the ordinance amendments that are presented.
Give a second. I'll second. Kevin? Any comment, John?
This has been coming up through the planning commission, and it just brings all of the zones into alignment regardless of where you live. Everybody will have the same ability to have an ADU.
Okay. Okay, Kevin? Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
How is this really gonna affect things?
Answer that,
Handle it?
sure. So this, if it passes, for the hearing will be held and solicit any information from any of our residents. If it passes next month, then it'll allow anybody who lives in an R1, R2, or rural residential zone to be able to have an accessory dwelling unit, which is basically like a mother-in-law suite or a smaller home on their property. Right now, we allow that in an R1. This would just allow those other 2 districts to be able to have and take advantage of that same opportunity as the R1 zone.
How will this be affected by the ordinance we passed that said you could only use your primary dwelling as a Airbnb? So if you've got a secondary property, is that considered a new apartment? You have to rent it by a month? Or can you rent that as an Airbnb?
The way that the administration sees this law affecting that ordinance would be that you could do a short-term rental or you could do a long-term rental.
By short-term rental, you mean Airbnb?
It could be Airbnb, there's other types of out there, yeah, short-term rental.
Right. I see.
Okay, so, let's
Do a roll call. Do a roll call.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Ilmenin,
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Looking at 7.3, Main Street paving bids.
The city of Naganis issued bids for milling and paving of Main Street from Teal Lake Avenue to Healy Avenue. Requests for bids were sent out on February 26th, and a total of 2 bids were received and opened. The paving project is tentatively planned to take place early summer of '24. 2 bids were received: Baco Construction, $109,877, Payne and Dolan, $147,745.50. Recommendation: it is recommended from the Public Works Department that the city accept the low bid from Baco Construction in the amount of $109,877. Also to allow an additional project contingency for unforeseen issues, quantity overruns in the amount of $10,123 for a total project cost of $120,000. Fiscal effects, for 2024, there is $120,000 budgeted for the Main Street paving project. Alternative, to not award the bid.
Council, the motion,
Make a motion to approve.
Councilman Smith,
Support.
support by John. Any comment on?
Is this just mill and overlay?
Yes, there'll be also a correction, Mr. Mayor, on that intersection, on Mackenzie there. There's like
right.
that kind of weird hill thing.
Yep.
Yeah, there'll be a correction for that
Okay.
too, so.
So pretty minimal in the grand scheme.
We believe so, yeah.
Is this gonna affect, Pioneer Days this year at all?
No, I believe they're supposed to have this done by June, I think it's like June 30th. I don't exactly remember the date, but they want to get.
But there is a timeline on it.
Yeah, there's a timeline, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, John,
Nothing to add.
council?
It seems to me, Dave, like we got a lot of other streets in town that need to be repaired before Main Street. I grew up on Main Street. I seen Main Street repaved at least 3 times in my life. And it's time that we go pave other streets that haven't been done in 40 or 50 years and they're completely falling apart. I'm not saying Main Street is good, but everybody's gotta get their turn. We're all taxpayers and everybody deserves to have decent streets to drive on, not just the main streets in town.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, let's do another roll call.
Councilmember Howard,
Nay.
Councilmember Ilmanen,
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes?
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Looking at 7.4, Lacombe fencing bids. Sorry.
That's all right. The city of Negaunee issued an RFP for replacing the removed fence sections at Lacombe Field to ensure the field will be usable for the user groups while the dugouts get rebid and constructed in the near future. The city received 2 proposals: Century Fence, $7,290, Marquette Fence, $14,500. $23,425 is currently budgeted for Lacombe. City staff recommends accepting the proposal from Century Fence at $7,290, with money being paid from the general fund Lacombe Field project.
You have a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
Is that you, Toby?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Craig?
Yes, sir.
Toby, comment?
Yeah, I guess, you know, if we're not gonna be able to get the dugouts in place in time for the upcoming season, I think we gotta do what we can to just get the field operational, and if this is what it is, let's just do it. That field gets a lot of use, so.
Craig?
Is this just the fencing, or is this the, safety, the yellow covering over the fencing, and does it constitute all of that, or is that excess funding down the road?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just the fencing that goes in front of the dugouts. I believe the way that fencing is gonna be installed with those dugouts will be attached to it,
Okay.
from my understanding, so it won't require that plastic coating protection area as far as I understand, but that's not part of this bid, yes.
Okay,
Why did we take down the old fence?
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dave. Why did we take down the old fence?
The old fence was removed in order to put in the concrete, and follow through with the plan of the new dugouts that are gonna be constructed there. So the fence the pre-existing fence there, we wouldn't be able to do that, so that's why those were removed.
Anyone else? Okay, so with that, Ann, if you, with a roll call, please.
It's all right. Councilmember Ilmenin,
Yes.
Councilmember Chloe,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Okay. I'll tap the brakes a little bit.
You're fine.
Okay, all right. 7.5, City Hall boiler bids.
The City Hall steam boiler is in need of repairs to continue operating. The repairs include the installation of a water softener, chemical treatment system, and heat timer control. City staff issued bids and received 2 bids as follows. United Contractors, $29,340. J Goods, $34,500. It is recommended from city staff that the council accept the low bid from United Contractors in the amount of $29,340 for the installation of a water softener, chemical treatment system, and heat timer controller on City Hall's boiler, with monies being paid from the drawdown of the City Improvement Fund. Fiscal effects, this is an unbudgeted expense for 2024, and the City Improvement Fund balance will need to be drawn down if repairs are made. Alternative, none recommended.
Council, motion?
Make a motion to approve the bid of $29,340 for the installation of
That's Craig.
following items.
Get a second?
I'll second that.
Toby? Craig, any comment?
Be a little cheaper just to get Nate and Ann a couple of new sweaters.
I don't even have heat on in my office, so.
Nothing for
Toby?
Do you need a budget amendment in this motion, or does that come later, or?
That is the budget amendment, drawing
Okay.
down.
Fair enough, that's all.
Anyone else?
Where's United Contractors from?
Marquette.
So they're local, we need service, whatever,
They've been around a long time.
okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, since we're down to dollars and cents, and we do a roll call?
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Ilmenin,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, all right, 7.6. Macomb Field, dugout bids, reject bids. And what,
City staff advertised bids for the Lacombe dugouts. 4 bids were received. A&F, $88,195. Flossner, $88,270. Northern Awning, $70,150. Primo, $58,675. $23,425 is budgeted in the 2024 budget for this project. City staff's recommendation is to reject all of the bids. There is not enough money budgeted for this project at this time. Other resources are being explored to complete this project.
motion?
Make a motion to reject all the bids and explore our resources.
One second.
Second, Matt, second, Matt. Okay, Craig, any comment?
No, just another summer that I'll be able to see the whole field from my deck.
Okay, Matt?
A couple of dugouts cost 90 grand, I'd sure like to see what they look like, cause they must be fancy. That's it.
Okay, anyone else?
Do we know why the bids came in so high? Material, labor?
I'll tell you no, out of respect for those companies who
Fair enough.
have put bids in.
Okay, so with that, let's do another roll call.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Ilmanen,
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Mayor Kangas.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Seven point seven, compressor proposal, ice arena budget adjustment.
The City of Negaunee Ice Arena cooling system operates utilizing multiple components. That spreadsheet is attached. One of the components, compressor B2, has failed and in need of immediate replacement. Johnson Controls has provided a quote of $22,069.64 to replace the failed compressor. Replacing this compressor will cause a delay in the 2024 ice rink season by approximately 1 month. City staff recommends Johnson Controls to replace the compressor in the amount of $22,069.64. The city is also requesting an additional amount up to $17,000 to purchase a spare compressor. Alternative, to have Johnson Controls replace the failed compressor only and not purchase the spare compressor. Fiscal effects. The $22,064.64 is not budgeted and will require a drawdown of the fund balance in the city improvement fund. If the up to $17,000 spare is approved, that is also not budgeted and will need a drawdown of the city improvement fund.
So, council?
I'll make the motion to approve the replacement of the B2 compressor for $22,069.64 and the additional spare compressor in the amount of $17,000 and the necessary drawdown for funding.
A second? Kevin? Toby?
I just, for clarity's sake here, I just wanna make sure that this, if we get this approved tonight, we're not actually looking at a 1-month delay. Is that the correct understanding?
The way I'm understanding it is if we order this week, we should get that in time to prevent that delay. If we don't, then there would be definitely a delay. That's my understanding.
Okay, with that said, you know, at this point, my main concern is getting the rink operational when we need it. You know, obviously, we've had a couple of people speak to that point. I spoke at previous meetings about the last year's season and what a mess it was. I can only imagine what it was like for the parents who had to get their kids there, dealing with the different arrangements that they went through for their season, so. I'm all in favor of keeping that rink up and running. I just, at the same time, you know, I'm looking at this second sheet. You know, we've got some good equipment, some failing equipment, some original equipment. You know, I just don't want to lose sight of that and make sure that as we move forward, we continue to look for funding sources, try to find ways to replace or refurbish the entire system so that we're not continually trying to piecemeal this thing back together. That's all I got.
Kevin?
Nothing else to add.
Anyone else?
I feel like going through a deja vu here. This happened last year, right?
Yep.
As I recall, I asked, how's the rest of the equipment? How's it gonna hold up? Is it all original? What's the deal? And I was told, oh yeah, everything's been checked, everything's good. And here we are again. And when we look at the list of, we got equipment that we can't even get replacement parts for if it dies. And, you know, do we wanna go through this every year for the next 4 years or so? Or do we need to maybe consider upgrading the whole system somehow and doing it right the first time rather than, hoping one of these parts that we can't replace doesn't blow out, cause then we've got all kinds of money sunk into it that we just lose, right? That's all.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any comment on that?
Feel free.
Okay. Well, the city has been, since before the last compressor issue we had, has been seeking funding to replace those compressors in that entire unit. It's unfortunate that that whole, cost is about $450,000. The closest grant that we can get is an ongoing grant, potentially, and it's not for certain, would only be $150,000. We attempted to get a community facilities grant that was made available through the state of Michigan, which there may be a second round, and we were unsuccessful, which would have paid for approximately $350,000 of that. And knowing all this, the city has dedicated $125,000 in funding for grant matches, which we have not been able to obtain at this time. We are unable and ineligible to obtain any grants from the Michigan Department of Natural Trust Fund grants that are available because they do not spend money on buildings like ice arenas for indoor sports. We are working right now, and we feel hopeful that there's another grant source that we've been contacted on that would pay for the majority of that upgrade that's needed. But without a grant being made available, it's gonna be next to impossible for the city just to drop $450,000 into the ice arena for this project. So we are diligently looking at this. In addition to that, we have been working most recently with the Irontown Association on a couple other concerns that they have, and we look forward to having a positive relationship with them in the future and seeing if we can address some of their needs, including the replacement of this overall system. So that's where we stand as a city administration and what we've done.
Okay. So I guess I'll probably throw in my 2 cents this evening. Myself, I don't utilize the ice arena, I just flat out say it, I don't. But I do have eyes. As I drive by during the winter months, I see an awful lot of vehicles there. And it's a facility that is, people obviously use a lot, and it's needed. So yeah, granted, you're always gonna have upkeep on things in town, that's just the reality of things. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to see things are running. So I guess with that, Ann, we're gonna do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Becker?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yeah.
Councilmember Ilmenin?
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Kangas?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Now we have 7.8, resolution, combined voting precinct polling locations.
Do you want me to read the resolution, or? I don't have a background. Would you like me to read it? Okay. Okay. Resolution consolidating election precincts and approving election precinct polling location. Whereas MCL 168.661 allows for up to 4,999 registered voters to reside in a single precinct, and whereas MCL 168.661 provides for the City Election Commission to establish precinct boundaries by resolution, and whereas one election precinct, Precinct 1 in the city of Negaunee, will reduce election day staffing needs, reduce election equipment needed, reduce the number of polling locations, and reduce other associated election costs. Whereas staff estimates this shift will result in a need for one election day polling location rather than the two previously used. And whereas a review of voter registration data, local voter habits, and past practice regarding polling locations resulted in a determination that the city would be able to provide the most accessible and equitable experience to city voters by establishing the one polling location at the Negaunee Middle School Gymnasium, Precinct 1. And whereas MCL 168.6621 states, the legislative body in each city and township shall designate and prescribe the place or places of holding an election for a city, village, or township election. Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council for the City of Negaunee that the following consolidation and polling location be adopted for all elections in the City of Negaunee until further modified. Precinct 1, Negaunee Middle School, New Gymnasium, 102 West K Street. This resolution will take effect immediately, duly adopted by the Negaunee City Council on Thursday, April 11th, 2024.
Make the motion.
Toby,
Support the motion.
John, support.
Yes, it's, comment to it.
I guess random questions. I'm assuming that we talked to the school and this is all kosher on their side, right?
Yes.
I know my precinct is here, the other side of the highway right now is at the elementary school, is that correct? Is there enough parking, given their needs in addition to our needs at the middle school to accommodate the entire? Yeah.
I answer the question, I would say yes. The actual, amount of people who go vote in person has reduced significantly.
Okay.
A lot of people vote absentee, and then you also have early day voting, which also takes a little bit of a bite out of it too. This just allows for a consolidated location, also reducing costs and staff, which we have issues with that, and
Which
prevents
makes,
us
yeah, that makes sense.
from having to invest in more voting tabulation machines, which can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000.
One more question, how many registered voters are there in Negaunee?
That's a good question. I believe I had heard it was like 2,900, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Significantly lower than this.
Oh, yeah, by far, because there's only 4,600 people for population for City of Negaunee, so about half, or a little bit over half.
Yeah, with that said, to your point of, cost cutting efforts and, I've done the city audit before, I've seen the cost of those machines from 10, 12 years ago, I can only imagine what they cost now, so, any effort we can make to reduce costs for it.
Okay, John,
Nothing to add.
anything else?
I guess Toby took most of my questions, especially the parking one. Kids use that parking lot for recreation during lunch hour. I guess my biggest concern would be because we're bringing everybody into a school, what is this school and our government going to do to make sure that the voters are going to vote and not going into the school? Not saying somebody's going to go into a school.
Sure.
Right, but let's invite people into a school during the school day when we have all those kids. So I think that's something we do have a resource officer, somebody that can be there,
I can answer that for you. So we do have a resource officer. They could be on call on that location. The school administration would also have certain procedures put in place so people aren't going where they are not supposed to be going. In addition to that, we currently do hold one of our precincts at the elementary school. So I would say it'd be about the same effect as it would be at the middle school.
Yeah, I know we locked at Lakeview, I know the doors are locked
Mhm.
up top of the gym there, so
Yeah.
keep people out. But, yeah, I mean, just a concern, small concern on mine.
And myself, I remember how many years ago it was, I was a poll watcher over in Ishpeming, and the Birchview School, which is by Alqual, I think it's Birchview. So you're sitting there in the gym, and they actually had area taped off that don't go beyond here, you know, or alligators will eat you or whatever, you know, type of thing. But they made it very clear that this is the area to go. So I guess maybe it's, touching on your question, Craig, it was very obvious that, yeah, you don't belong here. So that was nice to see.
Believe it or not, a criminal will walk right through that tape and not think twice. I know it's hard to believe, but they will.
Yes, you're right. That criminal can do that anywhere, but it's just unfortunate.
The middle school doesn't still have the same gym it had back in the sixties and seventies. I haven't been in there.
New addition is the gym.
So,
That gym is still in the basement,
there's
it's just,
enough-
this is the new gym we're talking about.
oh,
He's
okay.
talking about the boys' gym.
There's enough room in that gymnasium to do everything we gotta do, have people waiting or whatever.
That gym is probably the size of this building in total,
Mhm.
so I would think there's plenty of room for that.
That issue was taken in consideration by the election commission, and they would not recommend this location had there not been enough room to accommodate people for the question transfer.
Practice your free throws all the way.
Yeah, a little bit of homework is done. So. Okay, so with that, I guess, all those in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. Against? Okay. 6-0. Okay. Number 8, consent agenda, 8.1, minutes. March 14th, 2024, regular minutes. 8.2, claims and accounts. 8.3, revenue expenditure reports. Estimated trial balances. 8.4, WPPI Energy Innovations Collaborative Agreement. 8.5, surplus property. And 8.6, boards and commission appointments. So, motion. John? Seconded by Toby.
I'll second.
Lloyd? Okay, we're gonna do that. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, we got number 9, our second public comment for the night. So 3 minutes each, so members of the public want to step up at the podium. You got 3 minutes, identify yourself and off you go. That, I had a couple, but I guess not. Okay, with that, I'm closing public comment. Okay. Council members, okay, let's start with Mr. Omening.
Oh, hey, since we last were here, the Nagami girls went downstate and the Fishman girls won the state championship, so great job to those girls and what an awesome thing for both of our communities, so really cool to see the youth can put on the map through athletics today.
Okay, Mr. Howard?
Well, I don't know, as usual, there's a couple things. At the last meeting, when we discussed buying the extra Vista building there, the side building or whatever they call it, I feel we were maybe misled that we could get sued if we didn't buy that building. The fact of the matter is, we bought the Vista without making sure there was title insurance on it, which should have been paid for by the seller. And that's how we got on the hook for 18 grand plus of bills. I think it had nothing to do with the building next door other than somebody wants the building next door. It would have been an excellent chance for us to cut ties with PAC, which might not be a bad idea. Just because then we could run the facility, and if they wanted to rent it, they'd be welcome to, right? As far as snow plowing goes, we get this wet, heavy, sloppy snow, and people need to be able to get around. Now, we have these weather events. I don't have any trouble getting in my truck, driving around at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and see what's going on. Cause I wanna know if ambulances and fire trucks and everything can get down our streets if necessary. And a lot of times I've been finding that a lot of people be hurting if they needed these services that bad. So I think, you know, after all the years of being Upers that we are, we should be able to come together and keep the streets clean. At least clean enough that emergency services can get through. Right? And then people are still asking about the cemetery fence and where we're at with the cemetery fence that was taken down to remove the trees or whatever. And they'd like to know when it's gonna be going back up. It'd be nice to get some kind of report on that, you know? So, thank you.
Kevin?
Nothing for me tonight.
Okay. John?
Let's see, happy to see the construction start on the Vista and work going on there. That seems to be well in hand. And yeah, I'd like to echo Craig's congratulations to the girls' basketball team. That's all I got.
Toby?
I don't have anything to add tonight.
I guess for myself, it's what Mr. Howard said, we had 30 inches of wet cement fall out of the sky for a 2-day period. It's late March, early April snow, and it stinks. We unfortunately get it every year, but it's something that it's pretty much, you know, disappears in 2 days, and I'm not justifying anything, but it's for what we had for the workers and all the hours they put into, you know, clearing roads, which, you know, they did an excellent job for the amount of people they have, and for the snow event for which we were told that it was coming, so I think they did a pretty darn good job, and also with how much hammering on equipment is that gonna do for snow, which is gonna disappear in 2-3 days. So I guess that's my 2 cents of trying to see it more from, I guess, like more middle of the road point of view, I guess. But I guess on that, but I guess I could go back to saying that in end of February, early March, I officially declared the end of winter. So I guess if anyone's to blame for this, so yeah, I guess I'll take the rotten tomatoes, so. But as for ending on a lighter note, I guess that's it for me, so Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, I just want to bring to your attention the dates to remember here. We have a couple listening sessions going on. You're more than welcome to attend any of those. They're all going to be held the same exact way. We will also have an economic development team public meeting at the Upper Peninsula Brewery on the 24th. We'll be soliciting some public feedback on our economic development strategic plan that we have. That's one of the mandates that we have to get public input. Then there'll be a scheduled council substation tour on May 22nd at 7 p.m. We will meet at City Hall and we'll go up there together, whoever wants to, and we can look at the new facility. It will not be operational at that time, but you can see where the money has gone so far, and you can see the status and ask any questions you may have of folks that will be on the ground. We did officially receive our Tree USA status. So here's our little plaque we got that'll hang up in the lobby of City Hall where utility billing is. We officially are 2023 member. And you'll start seeing a couple of road signs that go up that say Tree City USA on them. As we are certified every single year, which you have to be certified every single year, they will give us stickers to put on those signs. It'll tell you how many years you've been certified, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, so on and so forth. And then, let's see, the last thing I'll say is I felt like the DPW did an excellent job with the snowstorm we had. We had a 48-hour blizzard warning. We had more than 30 inches of snowfall on the ground, and it was wet and heavy snow. Our equipment handled the best they could. We had equipment failures and had our great mechanic staff on board to fix those issues as quick as they possibly could. And I also remind some folks here that don't agree with that statement that we were under a no travel advisory. For someone who has nothing to do with the streets whatsoever, or the responsibility of them traveling around to see how they are, to see if emergency vehicles can get down them, that's besides me. I'm in charge of the streets and I don't even do that. I do check the aftermath. I am not a plow person. I am not gonna say I'm the person that's gonna tell people how to plow streets. We have a capable crew. They've been doing it for many, many years. There's over 60 years of experience on our team. And they do a hell of a job, and I'll stand by them anytime. Another thing is, we can't just go out there and hit the trails, running and doing what we wanna do, because then our equipment's gonna start breaking down. Imagine having 2 or 3 plows down because we have to try to get every piece of snow off the road during a blizzard. To me, that doesn't make sense. So we will continue to operate the way we have plowed in this city for years, until this council says otherwise. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
The city attorney?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, with that, so can I get a motion for adjournment?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
That's Greg, second. Mr. Smith, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.